Hi, I'm Leo, and welcome back to another episode of Rediscovering Ashina, the Sekiro playthrough where I go through the game while retranslating all the descriptions and the dialogues from the Japanese as I find them online and go in depth over the cultural background of most of what we see in the game, what I can find at least. It's been a long time since my last video because life happened and I had a very busy April and then a very lazy May, as after I did a lot of coursework for my PhD and other job stuff. I got really tired afterwards and didn't really do much for May, but now I'm back recording. Since last time we went to, well, I experimented with new editing style for my cultural background part. I decided to incorporate the techniques that I tried last time, and last video was shorter than usual as I just didn't progress much. I just did an optional side. I got a new item. I got the new... how did I do it? It's been a while since I played, so I will... Oh, not that. There you go. I got the Mist Raven item, which I will almost never use. Maybe I will just showcase it at some point, but it's not one of the items that I particularly like using. And we beat the optional super strong enemies that was protecting this item, but we didn't really do much else, because I was just trying to experiment with the new editing style, yada yada yada. So, since I've decided I quite like that, I'm going to now try and do something else different that you're probably not going to notice, but it's different for me in the sense that I'm going to record probably 2 episodes in a row. I would like the single episode to not be as long as they've been in the past, so I'm okay with doing smaller chunks of the game at a time, and doing like recording straight 2 episodes in a row and then editing in smaller chunks. Maybe that will help me. I usually not do that just because I'd like the episode to finish in some place that makes sense in the hypothetical inside narrative of the game. Like, for example, I could use the sculpted idols as signposts and stuff like that, but I'll see what I can do today. I have a stopwatch going to show how much time I'm losing. If I see that these episodes goes too long, then I will stop it and then I will resume it as the episode 6 rather than 5. But yeah, what is definitely going to happen today for me is that I'm going to finish playing the Hirata Estate. So if I play really well, this might be done in 1 episode. If I see that there is more to this area than I remembered that is left, or I play really badly, or maybe even if I play really bad I will just edit out, but whatever. If I see that I'm running too late on time, then I will split it in 2. So with that said, let's get back into it. I try to do a little bit of exercise beforehand so I don't play terribly badly, but I will still probably not play great, your word. Last we left off, we just explored, we found... Yeah, I think I just progressed. Oh yeah, no, last time I beat the lance guy that was over here, Enshin of Misen Temple. And then I progressed over there and beat the mysterious... He wasn't one arm, but he only used one arm to fight. The ninja that protected the Raven, the Mist Raven fan. So now we can actually explore this little section here, which I just lost over last time, which is full of bandits. So I don't think there's going to be much of interest in terms of the cultural stuff for a little while. There you go. In this next little area, but if I find something, then I will definitely pay attention to it. For now, this little next area up to that bridge over there, yeah, that's where we went last time. Up to that bridge is pretty straightforward. It's just a sneaky gauntlet. I like this little area in terms of level design because it's really hard if you face off all the enemies here at once. It's much more manageable if you fight them sneakily, so it prompts the player to face this area carefully and taking off enemies a little group at a time. There basically are no isolated enemies except those guys with the torch, which if they spot you, they will call all the other enemies, but there is a lot of place to hide in this bamboo grove. I think, yeah, this is the bamboo thicket idol as well, so bamboo is important. Well, not as important as much as it is kind of parts of the environment. Now, those symbols are interesting. Ooh. And I got spotted immediately because the archers have uncanny eyesight. What's here? The dowsing powder, which I already read and translated. It's been a while, so you'll excuse me if I try to remember what I did last time live. Oh, hello, cat. Was there something interesting up there? No, it's just a way to go over here. Okay, cool. So, the archers are pretty dangerous. Let's see if I can pick them off with my trusty shurikens. Ow! I got the... oh god, my battery is low. Okay. Sorry about that. My controller's battery was really low, and so I had to go and switch to another controller. So you're going to have a really weird cut here. I had to go back and redo this little area, which is why I got a new skill point and I'm a little bit injured. But yeah, this is where I stopped. So there is a guy down here, which I'm going to take out. Now that in this alternative timeline, I didn't aggro all the archers over there, and then I'm going to take out the archers. This little area here is really only useful to... ooh. Nice. Ow. Not nice. Not nice. Okay. Archers are taken care of. Oh, sorry, 1 second. There you go. Oh, no, not this. So, archers are taken care of. We have more oil. And yeah, this entire little area was, I guess, just a little nice aesthetic walkway to the entrance of the estate proper, which doesn't seem to be faring quite well. We have over here a big guy who has aggro me, and I actually want to aggro him before I take on the other guys that we can glimpse over there, because I think those are an archer and 2 guys with the shield. I think this is the first time that we see... oh, okay, that's the archer. Let's see if I can target him. Yeah. Good. So, this big guy is the same kind of big guy that we encountered before, but he's the bandit version, while the one that we encountered before was the Ashina soldier version. It's got different weapons, got a little... got a little helmet. We still have no clue on what these guys are, other than really big and strong, and not very smart. But yeah, so the guy with the hammer that we encountered last time wasn't a one-off thing. And they are diffuse enough that both the Ashina official military employs them, and bandits can. So, yeah, we're going to discover more about them. And these are the 2 guys with the shield, which I just cannot be bothered dealing with them. Some more pellets, which are always nice. Over there is the secret entrance to the pagoda, the 3-tier pagoda over here. A fistful of ash, which I guess is here because it probably floated over from there. And here we enter what was the entrance of the mansion proper, the estate proper. That was the term that I had translated in a previous video, for which was the correct one for the mansion, which I now do not recall on the top of my head, but yeah. Again, as I discussed in a previous video, that term helped describe this a little bit better, because this is not just one, like, huge mansion. This was a proper small town circling, like, centered around the residents of the area lord, the daimyo. Look, they stacked all the hay all around to make it more flammable. And in here we see the hunched over shape of Wolf's father in the middle of a lot of dead samurai.
Chichiue. お前か。不覚を取った。このわしも置いたものだ。手当てはよい。この傷ではもはや助からぬ。それより狼よ、これを。
Hidden Temple Key. The key to the hidden temple in the Hirata estate, given by the owl. The secret temple is located in the very back of the Hirata estate. 2. The Lord is absolute. Defend him with your life. If he is taken, bring him back at any cost.
これはお屋敷の隠し仏殿の鍵よ。巫女様はそこに。だがこの火の手じゃ正面からは入れぬ。崖外からならば。そうじゃ。あちらから外へ出て崖沿いに進み、霊園から回り込め。さすれば抜け道が。わかりました。狼よ、忍びの掟は忘れておらぬな。はい。主は絶対。狼よ、命を落としてお守りするのじゃ。父上。
The flame flare up and a way out is blocked.
左手へ出て崖沿いに進み、霊園から回り込めば抜け道がある。お任せください、父上。
Wolf is a very serious boy. Yeah, so all seems to have died due to a blunder that he has committed during this fight, and prompts us to go through the cemetery, over the cliffs. This dialogue is great. I really love the over-the-top death, which reminds me a lot of like old samurai movies of Owl, and in the context of what we'll discover later about the story and what happened here, it's going to take a whole other very funny meaning. But yeah, this entire town, which was probably the place where the samurai families, the servants of the daimyo lived, is just gone. And we can pass through the cliffs. over this really nice little shiny thing, which I'd like to get a good shot on, but it's really not super easy to do that. Look at these things. These are adorable. Ah. Come on, wolf. Yeah. These little shrines. And by following these little shrines, we found ourselves here. Now, if you remember a couple of episodes ago, we could already get over here. We could get over here by swimming in the river and grappling hook to this tree branch here. We could have gone here already, which is a really weird choice in level design, because we need the key that all gave us to finish this area, but we could already have done this entire part up until the point where we need the key without meeting up with Owl, which is an interesting little thing. I do not know why they decided to do it like this other than just reward exploration and the rivers. We see a bandit which is just examining the graves. We've been told that this is a graveyard. And over there we see that there are more bandits. But over here I want to go first, because down this slope, down these steps of cut bamboo, there is an interesting little side challenge, which was very, very scary the first time I went through this area. There he is. Ow. Oh, immediately. Ah, damn me, I thought I had a good timing there. Okay. Oh no. Oh no. Come on. There you go. Okay. And there is another one. Bulging coin purse. A purse almost overflowing with sand. It can be used to acquire the sand inside. Hefty enough to bring something resembling a grin to a wolf's face. The sand in this purse is not lost upon death. A couple of things to say about this item. Translation-wise, I actually quite like this translation, even though it's not super faithful, because they changed a couple of things, but in a way that I feel kind of enriches the item and doesn't really undercut anything of the original. For example, the original name for it was the weighty or the hefty money sack rather than the bulging one, and the comment was much drier. It was just, it has a pretty delightful weight. There is no mention whatsoever of wolf grinning or anything so extreme, because, as always, Japanese wolf is so much more serious and no-nonsense than his English counterpart, even in these little humorous skits. There is not even mentioned in this description, but I quite like the grinning part, even though it's not feasible knowing wolf and how incapable of being a human being he is. But putting translation aside, I like this item because I think this was the payment for the ninja hunters, which once again establishes their status as mercenaries. They weren't bandits, they were hired by the bandits. Which of course begs the question of why the bandits would have the money to pay some warrior monks in the first place and come with them in this operation, which feels more and more like something more complex than a simple banding attack on a settlement. Lots of money. Yeah, 2 more with Gokkan Sugar. Remember when I specified in a previous video that in Japanese it wasn't specified that the shinobi hunter was just one person? It was because it wasn't. In English this is kind of lost because it is specified that it is just one shinobi hunter, which was the one that we met before. But in Japanese there is this little extra trick that since it's not specified, then yeah, you find them here. More pellets and a Mibu balloon of soul. One process Sakura pink balloon and praise does his water splashed upon will acquire more resurrective power for a time. The oldest of the Mibu balloons, Mibu priests are known to pop them as an offering of peace of the departed. Another Mibu balloon, and this one is as complicated, if not more, than the ones we encountered before, so bear with me for a second. The naming convention is the same as the other balloons, which means that in original this is the Mibu balloon of soul gathering, rather than just the Mibu balloon of soul. The structure of the description is also very similar to the one we've seen before, but this time, rather than a blessing of good fortune like in the wealth and possession balloons, it is described as having the function of repose of a soul. This term can have two different readings. The most common one is that of laying a dead soul to rest, which is clearly how the English translators interpreted it. But it can also refer to an older Shinto practice that served to soothe and realign a living soul so that it doesn't leave the body as this one is still living. I get the feeling that there is a ton of nuance here that I'm missing, but let's power on for now. The middle part is accurate, but the last one has a couple of interesting details about it. Firstly, the priests are not described as Mibu but as Suisei, which is the same term for aquatic life used in other Mibu balloons. Secondly, the term priest is much more specifically that of Kannushi, which are Shinto priests, tasked with the maintenance of a shrine and the role of medium for the residing kami. Lastly, the description of what the priests did is described as tranquilizing the soul, without specifying if that means the soul of the living or that of the dead. From this detail, we can make some significant deductions. Firstly, the local religion, which seems to be still very much practiced considering how we find these balloons scattered everywhere and utilized by upstanding Ashina citizens and bandits alike, is confirmed as being at least related to Shinto. Secondly, the fact that the priests are described as aquatic life Suisei priests rather than simply Mibu priests indicates for me that they are priests responsible for the aquatic life, or rather for the worship of the waters and the supposed life that springs from it. Thirdly, if we take the meaning of the repose of the soul not as that of laying dead souls to rest, but of reinforcing the bonds between body and soul of a living person, the purpose of the item becomes clearer. The power of regeneration the wolves possesses, as we'll discover more through the Dragonrot plotline, seems to be at least in part powered by the life of other people, which is why by gameplay we recuperate uses of that by killing enemies. When activating this blessing, it becomes easier for the soul of Wolf's victim to stabilize with his body and therefore be more efficiently absorbed, or at least that's my interpretation, keeping this reading of Repose of the Soul in mind. Yeah. Is this the first time we find this kind of Mibu balloon, actually? Yeah, it is! Sorry, I thought I was half distracted. I thought we found one before. This is why I kind of only half read it. This was a place where bamboo was harvested, I would gather. Like, we can see there are some bamboo sprouts in the ground, which were just like the ones we found in the village. And this explains why this area was like this. But I actually don't really know if it was harvested. Maybe, like, there are some of these stone lanterns that kind of make this be kind of a holy site of some kind. Maybe the monks were here to pray for the hunt of the shinobi, as they thought they kind of finished the job at this point. This we definitely met before. These are Mibu possession balloons. Don't know why it's here specifically. But yeah, this is just a little secret passage. We saw that there was this passage over here, and it's just a shortcut to go back to the idle if we so want choose, but since there is no good way to get back here after that, I will bravely advance. Now, I know this area a little bit to know that this is a big trap. We can... because there is a guy over here. There. Yeah, let me just take... Whoop, one more shuriken. Take out this guy before. And then over here, if I remember correctly, yeah. There we go.
屋敷は今頃火の海よ。
ああ、抜け出してくるとしたらこの隠しホラー穴にちげえねえ。
十蔵様の言いつけだ。ネズミ一匹逃がすんじゃないぞ。
わかってるさ。俺はもともと大っ嫌いなんだ。危なくなりゃ自分だけ逃げ出す卑怯者がよ。
Yeah, so another mention of Juzou-sama. We get the meaning that this was an ambush made for people who were trying to use this passage to escape. And yeah, not much else really, except for the fact that, yeah, they're kind of done with this entire area. There was an archer over there, which was supposed to be very well hidden in a big trap, considering how quickly archers spot you if you try to sneak behind these people without taking them out first. And then it's just a matter of... Ah, this guy has an axe. Okay. Down with that guy. Another guy has come out of the cave. Oh, come on. Just die already, please. Oh, come on. Come on. Yeah, I didn't handle it very well. Okay. Now, there was supposed to be... the guy with the torch was supposed to be back here and to have a little bit of another ambush, because this place is like a triple ambush. And then, when we get over here, we meet another one of these little jumpy places, which lets us out of a well while we are inside. Yeah, sorry about my clock. Don't know how much you can hear it, but it's what's the word? It's not tolling, is it? But that's the bells you toll for people. But yeah, more oil, which makes sense. Swinging the clock, I guess. Chiming. Yeah, I think that's the word. More oil to set fire off this entire huge estate. And over there is another of the sculptor's idols. Hirata Estate Main Hall. This is going to be interesting in translation. Now, as far as time goes, it's not too bad. The next area, the next section is really hard. It's really hard. Can I acquire any skill right now, by the way? I wanted to get this as the next thing, because all of these other things are not that useful to me right now. Well, this one will, definitely. But I think we're going to get that this episode, so that's fine. Let me rest. So yeah, I will keep going right now, mainly because we didn't really find much to discuss up until this point, did we? It was just more bandits, the big guy, which I cannot really explain right now. There is the estate itself, but that's not that interesting, since its state makes it very hard to say anything except that it's burning. Oh, hello. So I will hold off until we found more things to translate, except for, you know, the further dialogue and stuff. I don't think there is enough for an episode now, but after I do this next part, there definitely will be. So I'll probably do this next part and then I will stop and then I will resume. But I will see how much time it takes me. Oh, come on, who saw me? Oh, the archer. Okay. One archer down. I know that there is another archer. That's not an archer. It's not that guy with a way too good eyesight. Okay. Okay. I don't want to trade blows here. Okay. Not handling it very well. Not handling it very well. Not handling very well at all. Okay, that's enough. I heard you. Yeah, there you go. Okay, tactical retreat. Sorry about this. This is why this area is kind of a pain. There is a lot of them, and if I don't play perfectly, they're going to chip down at my health. Take two, and tell you what, you kind of saw what this area is like, so I'm going to play silently, and I'm going to cut to the attempt that I am actually successful at. Okay, this one I liked. There you go. Now, I took care of the guys outside, but not the people who were still inside this little area. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Which is also very, very important. Where are they? Where are the bastards? I know you're here. Oh well, they're going to come out eventually. There they are. Okay. Oh, you bastard. You dirty bastard. Shouldn't be so scared of this guy. Takes so much damage at this point in the game. There you go. Come here. Good boy. Come now. You and your damn armor. Well, as I was saying, now this is all of them. Lots of dead samurai, lots of... This wasn't a samurai, I think, because he's not dressed like one, but definitely maybe a high-ranking craftsmanship of some kind. Craftsman, not craftsmanship, just a craftsman. More dowsing powder? I wonder if this was because of the bandits or just because this is a place with a lot of flammable objects, because this was clearly a storage for... I don't know if these were like records or if this was art, you know, poetry and novels, so the equivalent of novels and stuff like that. Divine Confetti. Confetti imbued with a divine blessing made for driving away apparitions. The powder is made ceremoniously, whereby pulp is spread thin using water from the exalted fountainhead. As the gods bless the waters, so too will the confetti bless one who basks in its touch, allowing attack to connect with apparition-type enemies. This item has a couple of play on words and details steeped in folklore which have been excised from the translation in a way that is very remindful of the Divine Grass, though this time luckily without adding anything made up on the spot and removing entire portions of the text. Starting from the name, the Japanese term for confetti is kamifubuki, which literally means paper blizzard. The name of this item replaces the first kanji for paper with the homonym one for the Shinto kami, and spells fubuki in phonetic characters rather than ideograms, creating kamifubuki, but with a meaning similar to kami blizzard or, appropriately, divine confetti. The original term that has been translated as driving away apparitions is Onryo harai, which literally means to banish vengeful ghosts. The term Onryo indicates a kind of vengeful ghost that torment the living, fueled by a never-ending grudge due to the unjust way they died, and are a very popular form of folkloristic evil spirit. Think of the ghost from The Ring or The Grudge, for example. This is not much different in meaning from the official translation, but as is commonly the case in these translation issues, it is more steeped in precise Japanese folklore terminology. The middle portion has a couple of differences and can be retranslated roughly as: while known to be made by spreading thin paper pulp, by using the waters of the fountainhead in the process, the kami are scooped up inside it as well. This indicates that, just like the divine grass, the local small kami are imbued in the item and key to its purifying properties. This is made even more explicit in the last portion of the description, where the divine confetti is described as being inhabited by kami. As a last note, the verb used to describe the blessing that they give on the one that basks in them is the same term used in all the sugars to describe the phenomenon of the spirit fall. I do not know exactly what the relevance of this is, because I feel at this point that I'm missing the proper use of this term in context, but it is a recurring theme, so I thought I should point it out. This really nice item, these two really nice items, are important for a part of the game which is really puzzling, really puzzling. It's the one part of the game which I expected the DLC to be focused on, but the DLC never manifested. But we'll talk about it later, definitely later in the game. There is this little item over here, which I think is an incense burner. I need to check if this is kind of an original design for an incense burner, or if it was kind of based in historical fact. And yeah, the house has been plundered, the inhabitants killed, and over here we see what was once a beautiful garden with a pond and this huge residence all around it, which has now been set aflame. In the middle of the pond we find a ceramic shard, a pot. A pot found its place here. And over here we see this guy.
お主、この基地によくぞ参じたのう。はぐれ忍びも捨てたものではないわ。わしは若様を、九郎様を救わねばならん。そうせねば、一心様に申し訳が立たぬわ。共に参れ。うわ
Now.
いやいや。我こそは野上元帥、国取り戦の芦名衆が一人よ。
Now we can see over there is a health bar appeared, and there is a really big guy, which is massacring that guy. I'm not going to help him this time because luckily he comes back to life if I just rest and just rush over here again, because I wanted him to die this time. Whoa. Don't mind me now. Yeah, I let him die this time because I wanted to get his dialogues, I wanted to hear his full dialogue. I'm going to try and clear this area without... Did they concur? Yeah, okay, cool. I'm going to try and clear this area without his... Oh no, I need to rest anyway to resurrect him, sorry. I will try to clear this area without his help, because what happens if you do not even talk to him is very funny to me. So yeah, let's resurrect the pool guy, who is there mainly as a gameplay thing. It doesn't really say anything that interesting in his dialogue in terms of like the lore or anything like that. It just goes like, yeah, I mean, oh come on. No, archer guy, please. Whew, sorry about that. So, as I was saying, He doesn't really say anything particularly interesting in terms of the lore of the information or what is going on here or anything like that. It's just a guy that tells that he's been here for a long time and is faithful to law edition, which is interesting. It is important, but it's not like terribly important. He's mainly here, I feel, as a gameplay help against that area, which has like a lot of stuff going on, as we'll see in a moment, and he can be a useful distraction. But I'm going to try, as I said, to not use his help, his sacrifice. And I will probably need to make more than one attempt, which means that I will probably reload after my first failed attempt. Over that there was another one of Gambu's little statue on a rock for some reason. I don't really have an explanation. Maybe this was like a... I will examine this rock later. Maybe it's an important rock. Over there we see there is a bunch of people. And over here there is this one guy. This side area over here. And he's talking with another guy. Oh, I don't... There you go. I don't want to trade hits. I have not that much cure available to me right now. So, this next part is pretty hard. Let's see if I can do it my first time. Here is Lord Juzou the Drunkard, a very dangerous person. Ow, ow, ow. And the boss of the bandits. Oh, come on! I don't want to fight you while there are other people around. I'm shy like that. Where is the guy with the shield? Oh, there he is. One down. Two down. Oh. Why isn't there friendly fire? It wasn't what I wanted to do. Three down. Let me get a pellet, because maybe this guy will drop a pellet. Ow! Ooh, this is going to be hard. Hi, Lord Juzou. Now. So he kills me one hit. I'm not going to make this in one go. He also is very poisonous. Ooh, okay, okay. Last spill. Whew. Come on. Ah, almost there. Okay, depending on what happens now, because I might have a surprise here, which I didn't want to happen, but it might happen. Okay, no surprise this time. All my monies. So, I've got enough skill points to get This skill, Emma's Medicine Potency, increased the healing effects of recovery items. Emma taught these techniques to the sculptor long ago. Memorizing the flavor will enhance its effects. However, knowing these techniques doesn't make the medicine taste any better. There was a lot more going on in this description than I honestly expected, and nothing really groundbreaking, but a lot of interesting little tidbits, so let's get into it. Starting from the name as usual, the term medicine in Emma's Medicine is actually a bit more complex in original, as it roughly translates as something like medicine knowledge or medicine insight. This doesn't seem to be a real word, but I sometimes found it used related to like semi-esoteric knowledge about the effect of drugs and medicine. It is made up of the kanji for medicine and knowledge, but the latter kanji by itself is mostly associated with the Buddhist concept of Vijnana, I don't know how to pronounce that, which is a complicated thing more or less equivalent to consciousness, life force, or insight. I won't pretend to understand it, I'm quoting Wikipedia here, you can find the link in the description. I don't know how relevant this is, but it at least indicates that Emma's relationship with medicine verges on the spiritual. Potency is an interesting choice for a difficult translation, as the original term kikiyaku can be translated as something like tasting of the medicine, with the same term used when tasting wine, for example. The description proper cuts a bunch of text, but conveys the general meaning pretty well. The main difference is that while in English it is just stated matter-of-factly, in Japanese it contains a direct quote from Emma. So, retranslating the text roughly, this could read, "Knowledge of a medicine that Emma taught the sculptor long ago," and this is where the quotes start. "Savor carefully the medicine, so that you grow intimate with its taste. The body will remember it, and so the medicinal effect will increase." However, as is often the case, the medicine is terribly unpleasant. The official English translation communicates the same information, but leaves out the more intimate connection that Emma seems to have with her creation, and the little personal touch of having her direct quote in the text of the manual that we're learning this skill from. More healing for me, which is great. So, see you in a few. I'm going to beat him, and that's going to be the end of this episode, and then everything that happens after him is going to be the start of the next episode. This is what I just decided. Going to see you all on the good attempt, because this might take a couple of attempts.
Yeah! 我こそは野上玄斎国取り戦の芦名衆が一人よ。うるせえ！おい！
No, no, god damn it. Oh, cool. Yeah, so the unseen aid means that I don't lose anything. Oh yeah, there is. Half skill experience and stand a loss upon that, but there is a way to avoid this on reputation. Through the unseen aid of gods and Buddha, one might be spared this loss. The chance can be seen in the pause menu. The original term for unseen aid is Myonjo, which means something like divine protection. From Reddit user 0LXX, link in the description, I learned that the probable reason why they went for unseen as the translation for that is that the first kanji, which usually means dark, is also used to represent the occult, or specifically divine work beyond human understanding, and so the translators try to replicate this meaning with the term unseen. Yeah, 30%. Whoop, wrong way. What? Why? That wasn't fair.
Huh? 目覚めたようじゃな。因果よの。なかなかに死にきれぬようじゃ。
Rot Essence, Sculptor. Somewhere a pain cough rings out continuously. The man who coughs zealously sculpts statues of Buddha to avoid being consumed by the building flames. Owning this item produces one's chances of receiving unseen aid. And the Rot Essence of the Timid Maid, the coughing and wheezing sound of an old woman deeply worried about her beloved master. And same effect. Dragonrot. The more one with the power of the dragon's heritage dies, the more a sickness known as Dragonrot spreads through the world. Dragonrot is not caused by resurrection, it has a chance to occur only when the wolf truly dies, repeatedly. The more Rot Essence wolf has, the lower the chances of receiving unseen aid. Here we have two very important items, one after the other, with a lot of stuff in common, so I'm just going to translate both of them at the same time. First off, Dragonrot in Japanese is Ryugai, which literally means dragon cough, a much less poetic name. Consequently, the Rot Essences items are actually called Seki no Oto, which means the sound of coughing. These items all have a specific naming convention, which is they don't refer to the people that they are related to by name, but by describing them in some way or another. As such, in Japanese, the sculptor one doesn't use the official title of sculptor, which is Bushi, but instead describes him as the one who sculpts the Buddha. The term building flames in Japanese is furitsumoru, which is used for things that fall, coalesce, and build up, like snow. I logically therefore get why they went for building, it's like flame that is building up like snow is building up, but the actual meaning of it was never that clear to me in English. This description makes me visualize the sculptor much more clearly as a man who is hanging on by a thread from falling into something terrible, who can only keep his faith away by dedicating all of his waking moments to sculpting the Buddha. The translation of Timid Maid is very puzzling to me. The original is Anjiru Roba, which means concerned old woman, which is both very simple and much more accurate to the character. The maid part I can kind of get, as that used to be her job being a handmaid for Kuro, but why timid of all things? Lastly, there is a very puzzling line which is shared with small differences among all the Rot Essences. It reads something like, this one sounds like a man in the case of the sculptor, and this one sounds like an old woman in the case of the old woman. I'm guessing this refers to the fact that it's a sound that Wolf can always hear from the distance. Like, as long as he has these items, this distant coughing sound never really leaves him and weighs him down as the physical or sensorial demonstration of his sin and the burden he has placed on others. Change of plan! This was the surprise that I was trying not to have in this episode. I died one too many times to that goddamn bandit chief, which isn't really that hard comparatively, like his moveset is really simple. He just kills me really quickly if I mess up once, which I did more than once. So yeah. The sculptor is not feeling well, and it is because I messed up too many times. And now he is ill and coughing. Now this opens up a whole new plethora of dialogues and gameplay implication and lore implications, which is why I'm actually deciding that I'm going to terminate this episode early. I'm going to stop here. I think we have enough for now to translate and to observe. This episode has mostly been gameplay, but we're going to have a bunch of things next time, and I'm honestly getting tired. I'm taking way too long time. I have stopped. I am getting so tired that I cannot even speak English straight anymore without focusing on it, which is not the best when I'm trying to play. So since I took so long, I'm going to take the executive decision for my own health and for the health of the video to halt this episode here. We're going to, well, from your perspective, a lot of what I'm going to talk about would have already happened. I would have translated the new items and the names of the places and of Juzou. But I am... Actually, you know what? Screw this. Screw Juzou. It is a bit later than I wanted to. But all of these things, all of the Dragonrot stuff, I'm going to leave for the next episode. But I'm going to beat Juzou this time and get what we get by beating him. Sorry for the indecision, guys. I am just a bit bummed out by how long it's taken me to beat this boss, which is not that hard, really. I mean, I say that, but he hits pretty hard, I will admit that. It's just that I'm frustrated at myself because he used to be simple when I actually knew how to play this game. So yeah. See you when I actually beat him, is my current stance. Just going to have a little bit more fun with him, and then I'm going to call it a day, and I'm going to start recording the next episode tomorrow, which is going to be covering the Dragonrot and whatever happens after we beat Juzou. Hello again, I messed up. When I said this is where I should have stopped the episodes, when I triggered the Dragonrot cutscene and all of that, that was when I should have ended the episode, because I was tired enough to forget to keep recording. I thought I had started a new recording for my last attempts to beat Juzou. I didn't, which means that I have a whole section where I actually managed to beat Juzou in another, I think, 3 attempts that is just lost. I have no footage of that, which is, as you can imagine, absolutely infuriating. So what I did, through the power of sheer hard-headedness and anger and frustration at myself, is that I loaded up a new save that I had, which was not from the start, but from way before Hirata. It was before the first boss when we get the shuriken, and I just rushed to get back here. The result is that I am a bit weaker. I do not have the couple of skills at the moment. I do not have these skills, and I did not get the MS Potency. But I am going to defeat him again through sheer rage at this point. And this time I have the footage, this time I am recording. So this is where I'm going to have a montage of all the extra attempts that I will need to do from now to beat Juzou and see what happens when you kill him, but not explore afterwards, as that is still in the next episode together with the Dragonrot. And yeah, I really apologize. This was I messed up a lot in this episode, basically. I hope you'll be patient with me and wish me good luck. I hope to do it in as few attempts as humanly possible. See you there. Attempt number 1. Well, one of many. Unrefined Sake. A bottle of cloudy unrefined sake. Sake is the drink meant for sharing. This cloudy sake is one of Isshin's Ashina's favorite. It has a rich, full-bodied flavor. On the other hand, it has a reputation for getting one too drunk too quickly. While the name of this item is technically correct, what it fails to convey, at least for me, is that this is not just a roughly made sake, but a proper official variety of sake called Doburoku, which is the item's name in Japanese, or Nigori, which means cloudy instead. You can find more technical details in the description, but simply said, this is unrefined in the literal technical sense of being an unfiltered alcoholic beverage much sweeter and thicker than canonical refined sake. The term here translated as sharing, that is furumau, is a bit more complex in original, as in this context it means to entertain someone or to treat someone to a drink, and in general to show hospitality. It is also used when offering tea, which might help explain a little joke which we'll see in the next episode. As a complete aside, the term also means to conduct oneself or to behave properly, which I find quite neat. Lastly, the drink is not as much described as getting someone quickly drunk, but rather with the term waruyoi, which can either indicate unruly violent drunkenness, feeling sick for drinking, or powerful hangovers. In short, this is a party drink and not a tasting wine or a refined beverage in the social sense. And then another prayer bead, which we now have 3. And there he is.
Yeah. 我こそは野上玄斎国取戦の芦名衆が一人よ
Look at him. Oh, I love him. I love that they made this special event. Yeah, it would have been much easier if I used him as bait and as an aid against the big guy, but what's the fun in that, right?
片付いておるか
Yes, you were a great help. Thank you, buddy. So, this took me way too long. I'm really tired now. It's super late. Much longer than I ever wanted this to last. Also because I had to do it twice. Yeah, this thing that I walked over so many times was just a Litecoin purse. Now you know. So, this is where I'm going to stop. Granting that I actually recorded this section, I don't need to do it another time because I would cry if that was the case, but yeah. Again, very sorry for all of this. I mean, for you guys it's not going to be that much difference. It's mostly I ask sorry to myself for having put me through this because of my lack of attention. But yeah, it's done. Lord Juzou the Drunkard, the boss of the bandits, has been killed by Wolf as he was standing guard outside the main, what we suppose is the main building, since he was there. What is going to wait us inside is something that we'll have to see next time, together with all of the Dragonrot. I will translate the dialogue for this, the sculptor's dialogue in this episode, and the Dragonrot descriptions, which I think you already noticed by this point, but yeah. For everything else, I will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm going to sleep now, so bye bye everyone. Hello again, thank you very much for having come this far. This episode was definitely my least favorite in terms of my quality of play, but yeah, sometimes you just have a bad day and gotta roll with it, I guess. So in terms of interesting stuff that I found, this wasn't really the richest one. We did some progression, we progressed the story, we defeated Juzou and all of that, but there weren't really all that groundbreaking news in translation other than the one that I've already talked about. Yeah, but still, there is a couple of stuff that I like to close with, starting with, as usual, the translations of the dialogues that we have encountered. First of those is the dialogue with the owl as he is dying. This one was generally pretty accurate. His very dramatic way of dying was, I feel, conveyed pretty well by the subtitles, so nothing much to add, but there is a couple of things of interest, I feel, in there. The first is, as usual, let's examine how people refer to themselves, and to Wolf, even though in this case just to themselves. Owl uses washi, which is a term fittingly used by elderly men, so he identifies himself correctly as an old man, which is then further reinforced by the way he speaks to himself as like, oh, I must have lost my touch and that's why I'm dying now and all of that. When Wolf speaks here again, in Japanese he uses the least amount of word possible. I know that I keep pointing this out, but it's still very funny to me, so I hope you'll enjoy this as much as I do. The literal translation of what he says here is just, from the cliffs outside. That's it. That's all it is. Nothing more and nothing less. Lastly, this very, very short bit at the end in the subtitles reveal some extra nuance in the way that Wolf thinks of himself regarding to his father, or how he thinks to his father, which is pretty lost in just the lines spoken out loud. And it's very small, but I found it very curious and interesting that it would be just in the subtitles, so I want to report it. So, what Wolf says here is chichiwe, which is a way of saying father that was popular in samurai families of the time period in which Sekiro is set in. But the subtitles actually reads like this, which, as far as I can tell, is not the real word, and seems to be a portmanteau of chichiwe and gifu, which instead just means foster father, and it is how Owl is always called in reference to Wolf. So this doesn't even seem to be a one-off thing. Every time Wolf uses the word, says the word father, says the word chichiwe, there is this writing of it. So it feels like Wolf refers to him as father officially, but still thinks of himself as his foster father, or there is this level of distance or ambiguity there. I don't know, it's very weird that it's just in the subtitles, but it's there, so I thought I would report on it anyway. To close off this section, let's talk quickly about the key, because there isn't really much there, but a couple of little things, so why not? Firstly, the key specified that the hidden temple is a Buddhist temple specifically. And also it is, in the description, the word Gifu is used, the one that I just mentioned, about how Owl is Wolf's foster father and is always referred as his foster father. The rest of the translation is accurate and refers again to what in English is known as the Iron Code, but in Japanese is just called the Law of the Shinobi. And this was mentioned in the opening cutscene, and I think this is the first time that we saw one of the rules like put in full rather than just mentioned in passing. So yeah, this is one of the rules of the Iron Code / the Law of the Shinobi. Next, let's talk about the samurai, Nogami Gensai, who is not very useful in giving us more information, but he's just very funny. I find him very funny. He speaks in a way that is like super pompous, and it's not the easiest to translate or even describe. He just uses the most verbose options in all the words that he chooses. It's very funny. His translation is pretty accurate if the wording is altered a little bit to try to transmit that pompousness, and his name is not super interesting to me. I couldn't find anything. If it was like a reference, I lost it. But there is a small important detail in what he says. He calls Wolf a stray shinobi, and I don't know if this is used as a disparaging term, as the English translation seems to imply, as it replaces it with rogue shinobi, or if it is to indicate that everyone knows of Wolf as the adopted stray without a family that all picked up. So that if they know that he's without a family, and that's what this is meant to symbolize, basically. To further underline his social status, which is, of course, not very high. To conclude the dialogues, let's finish up with the Dragonrot cutscene, which, as short as it is, has a single very important difference in terminology, which will require me to spend some time on it because I feel it's very different and captures a lot of the themes of the entire game. So, in Japanese the sculpture doesn't use the word fate, but the word inga, which is a Buddhist term that can be loosely translated as cause and effect, and is related to karma, which is the most common one. This term doesn't exactly reflect the same meaning of fate, which we can ascribe to in a more kind of Western way of thinking, a more Christian way of thinking, and is more connected to the way in which processes of the word kind of cause each other and result in each other in a progression of natural events. So his sentence feels less like a way to say, it's not your time to die, as if Wolf had a part to play yet, according to some grand divine design, and more of a, it seems that your karma doesn't allow you to die, in the sense that the connection between Wolf's decisions and the contingent events that brought him to his point don't really allow for his death. So it's less about predestination and more about the laws of the universe not contemplating Wolf dying here as a possibility. And crucially, there is no sense of yet in the original Japanese. The sculptor's phrasing doesn't make it clear if this deathless state is a karma that Wolf can eventually escape or not, if this is just how he is going to be, unless something really major happens to him. But yeah, I found it very interesting and very significant that it's not a good thing that he cannot die yet, necessarily. It's not a bad thing either, it's just that it's not allowed, it's not a possibility, it's not in the way that things work anymore. The Wolf is able to die. Moving on, let's talk about Juzou for a bit. The big boy kept me occupied for way longer than I would have wanted, so it feels fitting for me to spend some time over him, but there isn't really that much to say. He's unfortunately not a very important character in the grand scheme of things, but there is a couple of things that I can say now, so let's get into that. Firstly, his name is pretty accurate. In original, he's called Uwabami no Juzou, with Uwabami being an idiomatic expression for a heavy drinker. Funnily enough, the term literally means giant snake, and is a reference to the mythological Orochi, which is a name that is sometimes used out of context, but was a giant snake that was slayed after being tricked by the god Susanoo into getting super drunk. So that's a little trivia there for anyone interested. And there isn't much else, really. The only other thing that I can say about Juzou is that he uses sumo moves, which makes sense, because if he was trained as a sumo fighter enough to keep using sumo moves and evidently sumo movements during fights, like serious fights to the death, that could contextualize his great size and outstanding metabolism as being part of that sumo training. So just an interesting tidbit there. And that's it for Juzou for now. I think there is going to be one last thing we will talk about Juzou in the future, or a couple, but yeah, there isn't really much else to this character, I'm afraid. The last piece of certain information I can provide for this video is about the big guy that we met with the bandits on the bridge. The weapon that he's using is an actually historical weapon, a kind of weapon, called a Kanabo, which was a heavy two-handed mace employed in Japanese warfare to crush armor and sometimes break down fortification as a siege tool of sorts. It notoriously required much strength to use, as can be expected, and so it makes sense that big guys like this one might be employed to wield it in the setting of Sekiro, since that was apparently an option, even if we don't really have any other clue or context for who these huge childlike guys are. It was also starting to be considered obsolete in the time period in which Sekiro is set in, so it fits the overall theme to see it wielded by these bandits, whose equipment is overall much cruder and old-fashioned compared to the Ashina military we have encountered so far. And that's pretty much it, really. There were a couple of other things which I would have loved to find more info on, but I just couldn't. I started scouring the web for information on it, but the subject was just too vague and I didn't have all the time in the world to really learn about the entire thing, so didn't really find anything interesting. These were mostly the graveyard, if there were any information about the way this graveyard was set up, other than being kind of a Buddhist-style graveyard, that was interesting or that was particularly notable. For what I found, it just seems to be a normal graveyard with graves and a little bit of temple, because it's a graveyard and all of that, but not of much interest to us. And the other is the bamboo, and why the shinobi hunters were in the bamboo, why there was a Mibu balloon there as if it was used for worship, why there were the lanterns, which are also religious instruments, like guiding down there. Like, I couldn't really pinpoint what the role of the bamboo was, if it was just a place for gathering, if it was just if it was a religious place in some way. The only thing I could find is that bamboo is very important in Japanese culture and local folklore, and there is a ton of stories about bamboo, and it is especially associated with the Buddha and enlightenment, but nothing really useful for this contingent situation. So if anyone has any idea about what that bamboo clearing was about, if it was just a normal thing that is normal in Japan and just don't know of, or if it is in some way more important and more particular and remarkable, then I would be happy if you'd let me know somehow. But for now, I really don't have any more clue. And that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching or listening until the very end. This one was definitely not my proudest video, as I already said, but I'm still happy that I got it done. The next one, I very much hope, should become much sooner than the last, like the difference between the previous one and this one, which is a very low bar to clear, because I technically already have the footage. I just need to I need to do the research on the things that I found there, and then record the research and then editing and all of that. So, but yeah, I already have the footage, so I'm ready at a good point. And in August I will be moving out of Italy, so if it's not done by August then it might be a while, but I hope to get it done by August. So see you then, and I hope you had a good time, and I hope you are good wherever you are, and good night everyone.